I'm going to read you guys a story from Think and Grow Rich, a Black Choice. Now, for my podcast, don't tell anybody, but I'm starting a series of episodes within the show that I'm reviewing some top books for a money mindset, right? Some top books for a money mindset, and one of those books is Think and Grow Rich, the Black Choice. Very good book. I read it a couple times. Um, but what I grabbed three books, and what I thought was gonna be okay. I can skim through these three books in a day or two, and get this episode thing chopped up. Turned into I need to dedicate a whole episode to this book because not only are the words so powerful, but the stories within it. I mean, this thing is 300 pages, almost 400 pages of just stories. And books are very good at conveying information, but there's nothing like reading a story, especially a black story, about somebody who came from nothing. And you hear the cliche, self-made, but the best thing about old books is, especially old black books, is the people they talk about. They're talking about people who were slaves. So a lot of the stories in this book, people came off the plantation and became millionaires, or they were, maybe a year or two out, a generation out of being, indentured servants or people who were sharecroppers, whatever. They're a generation off. Their parents were slaves, but they weren't slaves, but they were still crazy broke. Like their family made more than $500 a year between all of them, type shit, right? So this is a great book. This is the title. This is you can tell how old it is. I've read it a couple times. Right, that's the title. But here's the story. So there's a legend, and I know the story in my head. I don't have to look down, but I want to make sure I get it right for you. There's a legend of a guy in the desert. Right, he's walking around the desert. It doesn't say how long. I would assume for a long time. He's really thirsty, and he comes across a house. And I'm gonna put the book down here. He comes across a house, and outside that, there's nobody in the house. Outside the house is a well. And on the lip of the well is a bottle filled with water. Now, this man is thirsty. He's been walking for God knows how long. There's a bottle of water on top of the well. And there's a note. There's a note on the bottle, on the well. Where does it say the note is? Oh, the notes. Yeah, so the note's attached to the side of the bottle, right? And the note says, you have to prime the pump first. And he says, P.S. Fill the jug when you're done for the next person. Now, dying of thirst, you come up on a full bottle of water, and the note says, and when you prime something, you're getting it ready. You're adding something to it to get ready to reap something else, right? So in the case of the well, for you to prime it, you got to put water into it first as you pump it to get more water out. Now, he's been thirsty. He's thirsty. He pumps up on a full bottle of water right here. And he has two choices. He drinks the water, doesn't take a chance, right? Because it's a chance. You could throw the water in there. I'm going to close the book. You can throw the water in there, and it doesn't work. And now you're thirsty. You came upon your only source of water. You listen to a note. You don't even know who wrote it, and you died of thirst. But he chose a second route. Right? He chose a second route of following what the note said and priming the pump, and lo and behold, filled with water. So he can drink as much as he wants to. He's not limited to what's in the jug. And what does he do? He fills the jug back up, puts the note back on it, and goes along his way. Now, there's a lot of things to unpack from this, right? A lot of things to unpack from this. Your choices. Drink the water and move on. My philosophy is always leave a place better than you found it. That's mine. So if he came across that water and drank it and dipped, right, he left that situation worse than he found it, right? Automatically, spiritually, good. The second thought is, if that note didn't work, would the jug be full? Because he's assuming that he's the first person there. You can't assume that. He's assuming he's the first person. If he assumes he's the first person there, then that would mean that this practice, this process is not proven. Which means if I do it, I'm the first person to do it. I'm risking this water, right? So even in his thirst, he was able to think in the back of his mind that I am not the first person to do this. I have a blueprint right here. I have a blueprint right here. And I already know the worst thing that can happen. The worst thing that can happen is I lose this much, whatever's in the bottle. Worst case scenario. He has no idea what the best case scenario is, but he knows the worst case scenario, right? So we've already, okay, so somebody else was here before. They've tried it. It's proven. They left a note. I can either follow this or give in to my urges of I'm thirsty right now. I don't want to risk this. And a lot of us do that. A lot of us know that we're working in our jobs and we know that we get this much of a paycheck. And there's so much information out there of people who've primed the pump and have reaped the rewards leaps and bounds beyond what could be contained in that jug. There's proof out there. There's courses. Plugging myself. I have a course, a stock market course myself. Plug. But there's courses out there and programs and all this type of and books, crazy books. This is the book, books written down, proof, right? This isn't attached to a jug, but it was in a library somewhere. It was attached to life. It was attached to me, and I'm reading it. And as I fill my jug, I become the proof that if you follow what's written, then you can succeed. And there are many people who've already written the note and have attached it. And if you will just read it and stop thinking that you're going to be the victim. Stop thinking that if you pour your energy into this, that you're not going to get anything back. That's that thirsty mindset. That's that if I don't drink this jug now, I'm going to die mindset. Right? You already know the worst that can happen. If you work at a job and you need to spend an hour a day studying something, reading something, whatever, you already know the worst that can happen. You're sacrificing an hour of whatever you were doing before. Netflix. To be honest, spending time with your children. To be honest, sleep. To be honest, eating. You're spending an hour less. And you know what I've said? You know what I said? And I have 2 children myself. And you know what I'll say? I'll say it till the day I die, right? If I have to spend 30 minutes or an hour less with you today to be able to decide later on how much time I can spend with you in the future, that's a sacrifice I'm willing to take. I already know the worst that can happen. I could die tomorrow and I lost an hour spending time with you, accumulated, whatever. And that would suck. And that would validate my fears and my thirst. But I already know the worst that can happen. But the best thing that can happen is that the time I put in now becomes something that allows me to spend as much time. So I'm sacrificing an hour now potentially for an unlimited amount of time to spend. Right? I'm pouring that jug down the well, taking the risk to try to prime the pump and reap the unlimited rewards. And books, courses, mentors, gurus all over the world. There's millions of them and millions of them. And all they're trying to do is tell you to read the fucking note. Read the note that's put on the goddamn bottle. Prime the pump. Take a risk and make something happen. Stop making all these excuses. Stop blaming your children for not having what you want in life. Because the reality of it is, if you ask them today, if I said, Bakari, do you mind if I spend an hour to work on this so that I can't give this hour to you, but tomorrow I get to spend the whole day with you? What do you think he's going to say? Right? That's how you guys start thinking. So, That's a good book. Check out my podcast. Check out my show when it comes out. This episode series. I didn't ruin it. That's one section. It's a 400-page book. There's dimes, and I'm gonna try to extract all that, and I'm gonna try to extract it and then compact it and deliver it to you in 30 minutes or less. But that's my note for you today: is don't be afraid to prime the pump. Once you've established the maximum risk, don't be afraid to prime the pump.